it's a person, by the way. Faith is actually a person, and it's usually a woman. I've never met a man by the name of Faith. But when you meet her, if she's not really tall and kind of overweight, then I would be like, okay, that's different. We have finally hit finally a turn in the rat maze or whatever, wherever we're at, that would suggest that we're actually, making some progress. Because part of the thing that I've noticed is that if we don't care about each other's body type and care that some of us are really like grotesquely morbidly obese, and when I say don't care, I mean like, do you not care to the point where you just see them as a meal ticket yourself and just try to sell them things? Because if you do that, you're basically feeding off of them, and it doesn't really provide adequate incentive to stop making people fat. So that, I think, is the ultimate distinction of a zombie and someone who's has finally like dug themselves out of the catacombs successfully, and like can say that I can walk on my own 2 feet now. I can fly, but I prefer to walk because, I need to know what is happening to like my family, and I need to know like, what's happening around me and stay grounded. So that's kind of what I mean by that. And when I say stuff like that, also know that I am being sort of symbolic, and like I'm using metaphors. So like metaphors are kind of like suggesting like, okay, how I communicate is by explaining things in story form, and like trying to use stories that I think people can understand to describe what I'm feeling, and also what I'm doing, or what I'm worried about, So that's kind of how I communicate. Okay. Another point I want to make is that when I said that I like to communicate in story form, I forgot that there's another story form that we use that we kind of ignore, and it's this. A story form doesn't have to necessarily be in a book. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, hey, this is a story too. It might not be the kind of story that you'd want to read to your children, but it's a good story, This is also a story. All of this. Now, how does someone really differentiate that who is reading about what's happening right now, like as if it's a timeline or a computer log of events? How does someone really differentiate between the two of them when the computer log will have essentially a timeline that is a story, but it's also storing it? And then at the same time that you're reading from this computer log, say you're in the Starbucks drinking coffee, and it's at Target. Now, Target is a store. So there's so many different layers to this story that it becomes a little difficult for some people to understand, who are also trying to, follow us. Okay? Because, yes, we are still linked with a caravan. from a long time ago. So that's another thing that people sometimes don't realize when they have people tailgating them. And not in the sense that we use that term now to describe, a football game, which, by the way, I got to say is kind of a really grotesque way of using that. You're basically cannibalizing. This is another reason why people think they're zombies, by the way. But you're basically cannibalizing your family that's been trying to keep up with you and follow you. So yeah, that's what tailgating really used to be before football transformed it. But yeah, I mean, that's why a funeral has the same thing. Okay, now we also do have tickets that cops issue when we're tailgating too closely, and it's meant to kind of protect us, in case if there's an accident when the person stops abruptly. But this is something that they haven't really yet differentiated, and I'm doing it right now, and it's because of the tailgating that happens with football. Okay? It's gross. And I say it's gross because you don't want to follow someone right into the barbecue now, do you? No. You don't want to follow someone right into the gas tank either. Now, do you? No. You don't want to follow someone off a cliff now, do you? And I got to say, well, there was this one example where you see the buffalo in this movie that's about, I want to say Cro-Magnon man or something like that. But basically it had people from like the Stone Age, and they were in the plains and they were hunting buffalo. And I gotta say that when I saw it, I immediately kind of understood what was happening. Obviously, they're hunting the buffalo, but I also understood it from the perspective of the buffalo. And when they sort of decided to just haul ass and start running off the plateau into like a ravine and off a cliff, basically, I knew it 100% without a shadow of a doubt that they were doing that because they were trying to keep the tribe together. And what the tribe didn't understand, like the ones that were like the hunting, hunters, they didn't understand that they were already a part of me who was looking at the movie, and already a part of the buffalo who were grazing. Okay? And I got to be honest with you, I don't think that the people in that movie really even knew that they were being filmed. Now, I know it's going to sound crazy when you think about it, but I honestly feel that we've come to a point where a lot of the movies now are actually being filmed like from the perspective of the insects that we ignore and try to kill with pesticides, basically. So that way they have a chance to see some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, but also to kind of, and no pun intended, right? No. That strategic timing of that train, by the way, is almost like God sent, because to me that's kind of just like a reaffirmation of like the universe coming in and agreeing with me. So